Welcome to A to Z with B, an innovative talk show with Beatrice Tony Bailey. As your host, B will be discussing today's hottest topics and insights into different faiths, cultures, and religions. Now sit back, put your feet up, and let's see what's buzzing with B.
Sweaty yoga, hot box yoga. You're going to actually see me in a little bit on some footage where I'm in the studio sweating like a pig. It's 105, I think it's 300 degrees in the room. Maybe not that hot. 300 degrees?
Not quite, 105.
Tell us a little bit about the Pet Education and Training Center.
Well, the Pet Education and Training Center helps people with disabilities by helping them train their own dog.
And as you can tell by now, our show has gone way beyond bereavement. We're so far beyond bereavement, we're now talking about raw foods. I mean, these are really genuinely good.
So mushrooms can be your meat. Instead of the ham hock, you have, and it has a texture of kind of a meat.
This would be so good with a ribeye. No, just kidding. Can you tell me a little bit about exactly where we are?
We're in the condominium.
Like condominium?
Exactly. If you're not sure if the person has been exposed to HIV, you still may want to choose to use a condom.
What does fat look like? I mean, I figured that, I know what fat looks like when I skim it off of, I don't know, the chicken or something like that. I mean, would you happen to have a prop that would show us fat?
I do have a prop, and this
Oh
is
my.
our fat model. What I'm going to do is I hand it to you, and I want you to tell me how much do you think that weighs? What do you think?
First of all, believe it or not, it really is heavy. And what's the little red things here?
It's supposed to look like fat. I mean, it is plastic, but the blood vessels in there.
The bursted blood vessels, right?
Right.
Oh, this is lovely. I would say this weighs 3 pounds.
So that's actually 5 pounds. So, but it looks, it looks like a pretty good amount. It feels pretty heavy. And
That's only 5. I need to go back to the gym. This is, and imagine having this much weight on your body.
Right. We do have a fat also in our little fat belts that we could have the kids try on and actually feel, what it is like to carry the extra weight in there with the 5 pounds of fat.
And he parked in an industrial area and began to basically tell me he was going to kill me if I didn't, do what he wanted me to do. And I knew I was really numb at that point emotionally because I told him he was either going to pay me or he was going to kill me because I wasn't doing anything for free. He drove us to Hunters Point. We ended up in the projects, and I'm just crying and begging, begging for him to have some kind of mercy and let me go. And he refused to, and all of a sudden 5 police cars pulled up. And they weren't even there for us. It was for something that was going on in the projects that night.
That's a divine appointment, by the way.
Right, absolutely. And we're driving away from that area, and I look at this picture of this little girl sitting on his dashboard, and I asked him if that was his daughter. And he said yes, and I said, well, I'm somebody's daughter.
Wow. A lot of the gangs and the criminals are really going this way, even away from drugs, because it's more profitable.
Right. Well, you can sell a girl over and over and over. And drugs you sell once, there's great risk to it, and so there's less risk if the product continually comes back to the seller, and that's of course the mind control that they play.
The product. I mean, how dehumanizing. It's not a person. It's not a girl. It's someone's daughter. It's a product. Wow.
The part that was so painful for me in my childhood was watching my parents yell and scream at each other night after night. And my hope and desire is that children don't have to have that kind of experience.
I had one therapist on, and she said something about that I found absolutely, it was like a gut check. She says, when parents argue in front of their children, it's a form of child abuse. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. The cortisol levels go up. Children cannot think. I look back at my childhood, and I did very poorly in elementary school, and my teachers would accuse me of daydreaming all day long. I was not daydreaming. The cortisol levels were so high in my brain that I was unable to think. My brain was like, a television screen when there's nothing on the television. And that's what it's like for kids who grow up in this kind of environment?
My dad wasn't in my life. And so as a result of the young kid growing up, I can remember being very young, developing a plan of action as to how it was going to be different for my children.
So you decided, based upon your childhood, you were not going to let that particular tradition follow into your own personal life.
I wanted to break the cycle of fatherlessness in my family. I wanted there to be a new day. I didn't want my children to ever grow up not seeing their father involved in their life, and that they would start a whole new positive trend, that a father was involved in the life of his child. He loved his wife with all his heart and soul, and he was also an active participating member of the community.